Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from the True Off My Chest subreddit from Suitable Mission 7422. It says, my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone and refuses to explain why. My husband is 43 and I'm 31. We've been married for 7 years and have a 5-year-old and a 9-month-old. My husband left our children alone and he refuses to admit to it or tell me where he was. I'm furious, enraged, and my husband keeps telling me I'm making a big deal about nothing. This just happened this weekend. I'm on the board of directors for a local non-profit organization. I had to attend an event for that organization this past Saturday, and I was gone for most of the day. My husband was supposed to be home with our kids. I texted him a few times and he responded. When I called around midday, he didn't respond, but that's not very unusual. Shortly after that, I got a call from my mum. She said my son had just called her, and when she asked him what he and his sister was doing, he said they were both watching TV. When she asked where their dad was, he said his dad wasn't there. My mum asked him several other questions, and from my son's responses, she believed he was telling the truth and that my husband wasn't there and that there was no adult there at all. She said he didn't seem scared to be alone or worries about where his dad was at. He just called her to chat. He has a tablet designed for children with pre-programmed contacts that he can call. It's only a few people, just family members. I left the event immediately and began texting and calling my husband repeatedly. He didn't respond to my first several attempts. It took him about 10 minutes. I was halfway home at that point to respond. I was so confused, so worried, really mad, and I asked him where he was. He said he was at home. I told him our son had just told his grandmother that he was home alone with his baby sister watching TV 15 minutes ago. My husband denied it, and I told him I was too upset to talk and drive. When I got home, I checked on the kids right away and they were both fine. I asked my husband again, where was he? He said he was home the entire time. He doesn't know what our son was talking about, but he must be just confused since he had gone to the basement to do some laundry. I ran down to the basement. It was the same load of laundry I'd thrown in the dryer the night before. He didn't do any laundry when I was gone. I asked my husband why my son would be confused about whether his dad was home or not. Where in our home would he have gone, and for how long for our son to think his dad wasn't home? That doesn't make sense with a 5-year-old and 9-month-old. He wouldn't leave them unattended that long. Why was he nowhere to be found when Mum asked my son to go check certain areas of the house? I begged my husband to just admit it, to stop treating me like an idiot, and to stop accusing our son of lying. Just tell me the truth, because being lied to right to my face is so incredibly maddening. He insists he was home, but he can't come up with any believable story of where he was at or what he was doing during that time. The way he answers me when I ask him about this and demand truthful answers is so dismissive. When I tell him you left our children alone, he quickly says, no, I didn't, so anyway. He says I'm overreacting and letting our son's imagination drive me crazy. I'm convinced he was gone. We didn't have a Ring camera, but at least one of our neighbors does. I'm so upset about this that I'm tempted to ask our neighbor for the Ring footage. I had to go out to my car and scream and cry because I got so upset. Of course, I didn't want my kids to see my reaction. I can't put into words how upset I am about the fact that I know he must have really left them alone. But I have no proof and I'm being treated like I'm just a paranoid nutcase of a mother/woman by him. So the top commenter says to OP, which is called Obvious Miscreant, says, when my now ex did this, it was drugs. I didn't know about it. He told me months later when I found out that he often left at night and put the kids in the living room together. So if the house burned down, at least they'd be together. Whew. My youngest was under a year. The oldest was 5. Don't stop asking questions. Opie replied to that saying, this gives me chills. Commercial Loss says, I haven't seen it anywhere, but will admit I haven't looked super deeply. So I'll add this to you. This is not the first time your husband has left your children alone. Your son's reaction to grandma is proof enough of that. He was calm, completely unbothered by the fact that he and the baby were alone. He would not react like that the first time. Eat Shit Bish says, As someone who was constantly left alone with a younger brother at such a young age, you were so right. Ooh, what is going on here? Those comments are, like OP said, especially that first comment gave me absolute chills, like OP. And again, like some of them saying that the kid's so chilled about it, I can't believe that this is the first time that he's done this. And the absolute denial afterwards, trying to make OP question her own sanity and the 5-year-old's reliability. And I'm really hoping that OP does get that ring footage from the neighbor. I mean, yeah, confirm that he's gone, and at least there's proof of that, so he can't keep denying it over and over. I mean, he probably still will. But OP came into the post sometime later and said, "Last weekend, my husband left our 5-year-old and 9-month-old home alone while I was gone, and then refused to admit it or provide a plausible explanation. Since then, we had many arguments about it. I've been living in a constant state of anger and frustration. I didn't want to fight about it anymore, but I couldn't help it, and I kept bringing it up again and again. I couldn't lay low and pretend to get over it while I waited for him to do it again and catch him in whatever was going on. I also knew that demanding he tell me the truth wasn't going to get me anywhere. Since he'd been refusing to talk and deflecting for days, all it was doing was making me enraged and feel like I was about to have a brain aneurysm. I told him to hand me his phone so I could check his location at the time. He refused. He said he wouldn't do it and that it was a violation of his privacy. He won't be treated that way and refuses to give in to my delusions. You think I enjoy being in a situation where I have to beg my husband to show me his phone so I can see where he was at? I hate it. I don't want to live that way. I told him it's simple. If he really was at home the entire time, just prove it. Why wouldn't he want to clear this whole thing up? I got so mad that he wouldn't turn over his phone that I told him I was going to the neighbors to get their doorbell footage. At first he was like, fine, go do it. He didn't think I actually would. He knows I don't like to air drama to others, so he probably figured I'd just swallow all of this crap that he's been giving me. Luckily, I was totally being driven by anger at this point, so nothing was going to stop me from going to the neighbors. When I actually started to go out the door, he tried to stop me and followed me out the door. I felt pure anger rushing through my veins, nothing else. The neighbor, who I've probably said less than 10 words to in the entire time we've lived here, told me he'd send me the footage. I went home, told my husband that the neighbor didn't have the footage from that day anymore, and told him I just needed to go to the store and cool off. So I put the kids in the car and went and parked somewhere, while I waited for the neighbor to send me the footage. I have the neighbor's number now too, and he told me if I need any more footage, he will be happy to give it to me. The video shows a blue car that I don't recognize show up and park in our driveway. A blonde woman gets out of the car and goes towards my house. She walks on the outside of our garage towards the gate leading to our backyard. The gate is too far back and out of the way to be seen by the doorbell footage. She and her car was there for 23 minutes. Imagine that. The car leaves right around the time that my husband called me to say he was home and had been home the entire time. As I was rushing home in a panic, calling him on repeat, one of two possibilities as to where they went. She either came in through the side door of the house, which does provide direct access to the basement, or, and what I think is more likely, is that they were in the back most area of our yard, which is a gated pool area. Immediately behind our house is a grass lawn that you step down a few steps and we have a patio. And there is a fully gated area where the pool is. It's not like you think of when you picture a gated pool. It's a full 6-foot wood fence all the way around, plus even taller landscaping for added privacy. You can't see into the area at all unless you're inside. I think it's more likely that they were back there because my son said his dad's keys were gone and we keep that gate locked with a key. The pool is closed for the winter, but there is one small building back there. Sort of like a shed we converted into a changing area, and there is a covered patio with furniture. I'm convinced that's where they were. So technically he was home, but in an area totally removed from the house, and where he couldn't see or hear the kids if something happened. I asked him how he could explain this. What were they doing? I obviously don't need him to tell me what they were doing, but for some reason I still had hope that he'd finally be honest. He wasn't contrite. He showed no remorse. He was just like, yeah, she was here, but I obviously never left. Who is she? How long has this been going on? And if he's going to be such a disgusting, despicable excuse of a man, then why couldn't he at least found any other time and any other liar excuse other than he was home alone with our kids? I told him I know this has happened before, and I demanded to know how many times he's done this when he's been home alone with the kids. He swears this is the only time, but he still doesn't have the balls to confess to what they were doing. I don't believe him that this was the only time, for your information. I still have so many questions, and I still feel like my heart is beating 200 times a minute. My blood pressure is through the roof. I've cried a lot, sobbed, begged for somebody to help me, yelled, screamed, ordered a bunch of books about divorce and custody. And you know what? The next day, after our multiple explosive fights, him putting his hands on me and me seeing the evidence, he acted like everything was totally normal and like none of that stuff ever happened. I woke up still seething, exhausted, broken, and he's acting like everything is totally normal. He said he was ordering breakfast to be delivered from our favorite breakfast place. He asked if I wanted to go to the store together later and try this new recipe for chili tonight. What? Why would I want to do any of these things with you right now? Absolutely no acknowledgement of anything he's done or what's transpired between us in the past few days. He deserved an Oscar for how well he was able to act like none of that had happened. Completely comfortable and non-fazed. I know that it's a waste of my energy, but I just desperately want him to admit the full truth of what he did that day and any other day with this woman. I want to hear it from him. It won't change whatever he's done, but he could at least have the respect and decency to be honest now that he's been caught. That's a ridiculous thought though, right? How foolish of me to expect this man to show decency and honesty now. If he was a decent and honest man, then he wouldn't have had this strange woman over to our house and been out of our sight from our kids for 23 minutes. His continued denial and refusal to admit to anything other than the bare minimum. His attitude like somehow being controlling or infringing on his rights by asking for information. That's almost more hurtful than him cheating on me. Commenter says to OP, OP, he has not been honest and won't be honest. Even if he is, what would that give you? Could you even believe it? OP, you know what he was doing. You don't need him to spell it out for you. Put yourself and your children first. OP says at the end of the day, him admitting to what he's done wouldn't really change anything. It certainly won't change anything he's done. It won't make it better, and I probably still won't believe I was getting the full truth. Yet I can't stop seething over the fact that he's refusing to give me any info. That commenter replies to OP and says because he's hoping that if he doesn't admit to it, there is a chance you stay with him. He cheated. He endangered your children. He's selfish. And the final comment from Trippy Hippie who says, I'm so sorry you're going through this. Unfortunately, you won't get anything from him. If I were you, I'd channel that anger into a plan to take your kids and leave. He will never say he left his kids in a dangerous situation to cheat on you. You know it's what happened. He knows it's what happened, and it will continue. Make no mistake. There were some people suggesting on the back of this one that, the neighbor was more than willing to help because the neighbor could see what was going on. And it's just the total lack of remorse after this one. Like the next day, just getting breakfast in, trying to sweep everything under the rug like it's just going to go away. Knowing he left a 5-year-old with a 9-month-old alone like that. Oh man, that's wild. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from ButterTimeUlt, who says, Am I the arsehole here for humiliating my neighbor's kids by having them help me fix a window they broke? Using a throwaway because I want to. My girlfriend, 25 female, and I, 25 male, have been dating for about 7 months. I moved into this house around 6 months ago because it was closer to my family and friends than my previous place. It's a little farther from work, but I mostly work from home, so it wasn't a big deal. About a week ago, I was doing dishes in the kitchen when I suddenly heard glass shattering from the garage. When I went to check, I found broken glass all over the floor. One of the windows, not the door, had been broken from the outside. I didn't see anyone, but while cleaning up, I found a football that wasn't mine. I recognized it as one of my neighbors. I'd seen their kids playing with it in the front yard before. Later that night, my girlfriend noticed a broken window when she came over for dinner. She doesn't live with me, though I have asked her a few times. I mentioned that one of the neighbor's kids must have accidentally broke it while playing football, and that I returned the ball to them the next day. I wasn't angry about it, it's just a window, but my girlfriend seemed annoyed and called the kids rude and disrespectful for not apologizing. The next day, I went out to get supplies since it gets cold where I live, and I wanted the window fixed sooner rather than later. When I got back, I grabbed the ball and knocked on my neighbor's door. The mum answered, and after I explained what had happened, she had her 3 boys come and apologize. She offered to pay for the damage, but I declined. Instead, I asked for one thing, that the boys help me fix the window. I thought it was a good lesson. When I was a kid, I used to ride my bike through an elderly lady's flower garden as a shortcut. One day, she caught me. Instead of punishing me, she asked me to help her replant it. So I spent a few afternoons after school helping her, and that experience really stuck with me. I figured this was a similar opportunity for these kids. My neighbor agreed, so I showed the boys how to fix the window. At first, it was a little awkward, but they warmed up to it and actually did a great job. About 30 minutes in, my girlfriend pulled into the driveway. She gave me and the boys a weird look, but went inside without saying anything. After we finished, I thanked the kids, sent them home, and went inside. My girlfriend immediately asked why I had them help. I told her I thought it was a good way for them to learn from their mistake, just like I had when I was younger. But she said I had humiliated them. I explained that I wasn't trying to shame them. I wasn't angry, didn't make a scene, and even turned down their mum's offer to pay. I just thought it was a good way to teach them responsibility. She still thinks I was in the wrong. I don't think I am, but I also don't want to go around awkwardly asking my neighbor's kids if they felt humiliated. So, am I the arsehole here? Absolutely not the arsehole. That girlfriend is completely missing the point about this interaction. He didn't humiliate these kids. He gave them a valuable lesson in taking responsibility and learning from mistakes. He didn't yell at them. He didn't demand payment or make them feel ashamed. He taught them a practical skill, which, like when I was younger, I would have loved to have learned something like that at the same time, and showed them how to make things right when they mess up. But not a cranky panda, says to OP. No, but you need a better girlfriend. Fire or water Kai says, not the arsehole. You taught the kids something worthwhile and how to properly apologize, and a skill without being nasty about it. Truthfully, the best way this situation could go. Your girlfriend was either humiliated as a kid and is taken out on you or something, but she's completely off base. Thick hips, tight lips says, not the arsehole. Way to teach those kids actions have consequences and how to fix what they've broken. I'm sure they'd rather help than be yelled at or taken to court for damages. Your girlfriend, however, what's their issue? They're rude and disrespectful for not apologizing, but you humiliated them by having them fix your window as an apology/punishment. The fuck? I'd almost bet she doesn't take accountability for stuff she's done in the past. And one more from Mildly Skeptical who says, you are not. Your girlfriend, however, isn't quite, and I'm having a hard time coming up with the words. Appreciative that works enough of how you handled the situation. By having them help fix what they broke, you taught them that instead of running and hiding when an accident happens, it's better to fess up and fix it if you can. It's called being accountable for your actions and facing the consequences. You did the opposite of humiliate them, and your girlfriend doesn't see this. What are her consequences? So OP comes in with our update and says thanks to everyone who commented on my first post. A lot of good questions were brought up, and I talked with my girlfriend over dinner last night. Here's what happened. For context, we are both white. My mum married my stepdad when I was 2, and he's black. I was raised in a predominantly black neighborhood, and the one I live in now is the same way. The 3 boys who helped me fix the window are also black. My girlfriend isn't originally from the state. She moved here for school and, in her own words, just never left. During dinner, I asked her again why she thought I humiliated the kids. After a bit of back and forth, she said something along the lines of, "You looked like a slave owner." Hearing that was honestly shocking. That thought had never crossed my mind until she said it. I didn't mention race in my original post because I didn't think it mattered, but now I'm wondering if more people would have suggested that if I had. I asked, so you see a white man and 3 black kids fixing a window, and your first thought is slavery. I could tell I struck a nerve because she left after dinner without saying much. That whole night I kept thinking about her, our relationship, and what this meant. Is this why she never really wanted to move in with me? If we had kids, how would she treat kids of different races? How would she treat my stepdad's side of the family? I asked her to breakfast this morning and broke up with her. I told her straight up, I can't be with someone whose first thought when seeing a white guy and a black guy together is slavery. It sucks that this is something I'll have to consider when dating in the future. The idea of, is this person racist, was never something I really thought about before, but now I feel like I have to. I really hope my neighbors don't think I had bad intentions. I don't think they do, but I'm definitely not about to bring it up and make things weird. Anyway, kind of a weird update, but thanks to everyone who commented and told me I made a difference in those boys' lives. That really meant a lot to me. Now I'm going to go and read some Hellboy or something. And the comments after this one were pretty much unanimously bullet dodged. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being involved. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon. Let's go, see the sun shining from the window.